For more on this story, Turkey analyst Yusuf Erim joins me now here in the studio. Yusuf, how exactly will this operation unfold? What are the next steps and challenges ahead of Turkey's military inside Syria?
Well, we saw President Erdogan earlier today say this is the beginning of the de facto operation. Now, why de facto and not Turkey has officially entered Syria? Well, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of variables to the equation that need to be considered. And there's military alternatives. Now, the moving parts include the YPG, the regime, the Russians, and to a lesser extent, the Americans. I talked earlier with Air Force General, and he told me that an ideal operation would require air support, softening the Afrin region bombardment maybe for a week before ground forces entered. Now, if we looked at Assad's comments earlier this week, he said that if there was an incursion by Turkish Air Force, they would get shot down. The general also told me that as a phase two or as an alternative, if we don't get this air support, then it would be a military incursion, and this would only be 10 to 20 kilometers inside a very small buffer zone. And this is not exactly what Turkey wants.
But what kind of impact could this operation, an operation on this scale and at this time, have on Turkey-Russia relations and consequently on the diplomatic effort to solve this 7-year crisis?
Now, Turkey and Russia have enjoyed a very good relationship over the past year, and Erdogan has said that he talks to Putin daily. And I talked with a former Turkish ambassador to Russia, Halil Akıncı, and he told me that this will be the biggest test of Turkish-Russian relations. Now, Putin is very, very invested into the People's Congress talks in Sochi coming up in about 10 days. And the last thing he wants is a Turkish incursion torpedoing those talks ahead. So he's treading very, very lightly, but he also wants to appease Erdogan, and he understands why Erdogan wants to enter Afrin and protect his country's national security. Now, Halil Akıncı also told me that Assad's threats to shoot down a Turkish jet are kind of indirectly Putin talking, because he said that Assad does not have the military hardware to shoot down Turkish jets, and what he does have are Russian-made anti-air and anti-missile defense systems, and that those codes would be in the Kremlin.
I see. It does leave both countries in very difficult situations. Now, where does this leave the United States, and what is likely to be the Americans' next move?
Well, the Americans are kind of not really a factor in Afrin, at least not as much as is being played out in the international media. They're mostly east of the Euphrates, and they've already stated that they really don't have much contact with the YPG west of the Euphrates as in Afrin. I talked with the former Turkish ambassador to the U.S., and he told me that entering Afrin would be easy, but exiting Afrin would be very hard, not just militarily, but politically and diplomatically. And he also believes that this recent American support with the border force to the east of the Euphrates, he feels like this is kind of an American game being played on an international stage, and that he kind of feels that the Americans want to pull Turkey into a skirmish with the YPG over there.
And tell us a little bit more about what Turkey is likely to lose here, because obviously Erdogan has expressed his concern over national security. The YPG is concentrated in an area near the border with Turkey. But how much is Turkey ready to invest here? Because we're talking about losing troops and potentially losing a lot of troops in a conflict on the ground. How far is Turkey ready to go to back the FSA?
Well, domestically first, we could see that the opposition parties have given their support mainly to Erdogan on this matter. We've seen one of the opposition leaders say that he wished it was a little more diplomatic conversations going on. But besides that, they've basically given him support. So this has strengthened Erdogan's hand for the operation. And basically, if Turkey does not enter and they allow the YPG to establish themselves, it would be a much bigger loss than the losses that would be incurred with the operation.
All right, Yusuf, Erim, thank you very much
Thank you.
For that. And in